and just kind of see how the flow goes. Today we have one prepared speech. Typically we have one or two. So usually we start about 5 after the hour, and figure getting started a little bit late is going to be okay, being that we only have one speech. A couple things in the way of announcements. One is going to be a desperate plea to everybody. We still do not have anyone to be Vice President of Membership or Education for next year, and we need to get this information to Toastmasters like now. So if you have concerns about the time commitments, I mean, something that the whole VP team can work as far as organizing the responsibilities. So if you don't think you can do all the responsibilities, maybe another member of the team has more time and can help accommodate that. So please consider it. It's a really good opportunity, and I'll send out an email, but we do need to get 2 more volunteers for vice presidents. And it's again membership and education. And the other announcement is, I don't know if we announced it last week or not, but we do have our picnic coming up, and thanks to Tom for reserving the patio. That's actually going to be in 2 weeks from today. And we will be doing our normal barbecue, and maybe looking for a grill master again. Gary, did you do grilling last year? You did an excellent job, so appreciate that. And you may be asked to call upon your grill master duties again. So plan on that, and I don't think we have a meeting notice for that just yet, but it'll be the normal meeting time from 12 till 1. It'll be outside, and we'll schedule some good weather as well.
I can grill some more.
So we will sign Gary up for grill master duties. That's what I have in the way of announcements today. I don't know if anyone has anything else, and if not, we'll go ahead and get the meeting started. I'll turn the meeting over to our Toastmaster for today. I'd like to welcome Maggie.
Good afternoon on this lovely day. My name is Maggie, and I'll be your Toastmaster for the day. If you had a chance to look at the agenda, we got a fun agenda today. We do have one speaker, Matt, and I thank him for stepping up and staying on the agenda despite his busy schedule. So wonderful. I also would like to, at this time, acknowledge the persons within our group that have roles for today's meeting. And we'll start with the meeting minutes will be taken by, I'll step in for, I'll volunteer, did you say? All right. We have Tom to volunteer, he's doing double duty today, to volunteer to take meeting minutes, which will be then sent out after the meeting to members. Actually, let's see here. Today's table topics will be conducted by Jill Kennedy. Thank you very much for stepping up to do that as well. Matt will be giving a speech today, and his evaluator is Elisa. And in a little bit, I'll give you a chance to tell us what the speech is about. The general evaluator for today is Lori, and she has a team of evaluators within her group that will also play roles today. And Lori, I'll go ahead and let you introduce your evaluators.
Oh, sure.
And their roles.
Okay, I'm the general evaluator, and today we will have one speaker, and Elisa will be the evaluator for Matt. And I'm wondering, Elisa, if you could read the objectives?
I certainly could.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so it's his project number 5, Speaking After Dinner, and the objectives are prepare an entertaining after-dinner talk on a specific theme, deliver the talk using the skills developed in the preceding projects, and the time for the speech is 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, and then I will ask for a timer's report from Gary. And Gary, would you like to just briefly recap that?
Yeah, sure.
Judy?
All the speeches for Toastmasters are supposed to be set within a certain time limit. So we do time them, and at the minimum amount of the speech, which could be 5 to 7, for example, I'll show a green card. At the middle of that term, I'll show a yellow card, and at the end, a red card. And I'll also do that for the table topics.
Okay, great, thank you, Gary. And then I will call on the grammarian counter, which is Emily. And Emily, would you like to explain maybe what you are looking for as your role? Thank you.
For all the different speakers we hear today, so including match speeds, but also the Toastmaster and the general evaluator and the table topics people that speak. I will be looking at how many times they say or so, or I think other kind of wimpy words that you shouldn't be using.
Great, thank you, Emily. All right, and then if we have time, I'll ask the speaker to give his own evaluation on how he thought the speech went. All right, thanks, Lee.
Wonderful, thank you, Lori, and thank you everyone for playing your roles. At this time, I would like to introduce Michelle. She will be giving the invocation for today's meeting. Could you stand up?
Today's words of encouragement. You can make a difference in one moment if you honestly and sincerely encourage a person. Let them know that they are capable, that they can do the task before them. In Toastmasters, that is what we are here to do. We are here to encourage the speakers. Thank you.
Very nice, thank you for the invocation. And before we get started with the first speaker, I'm going to give John just a few extra seconds to Google a word of the day.
Whoever set the agenda up didn't put one on there.
The word of the day typically is selected by a member here, and it doesn't have to be an unusual word, it can be a common word, but the priority is if we could try to incorporate that word during our opportunities while we're up here making speeches.
Okay.
And
I have
the word of the day. Thank you, John.
Today's word of the day, I don't know if I should erase this one. I'll just write it at the top, is mule, spelled M-E-W-L. It's a verb meaning to cry as a baby, a young child, or to whimper. So, in this well-prepared sentence that I have, they have mouths that twitch and eyes that stare, and they babble and they mule and they whimper. So mule is the word that I try to use that today, and when you come up here in your role.
Thanks, John. Wonderful. We all know that muling is something we are not here to learn. However, that said, I will go ahead now and then we'll go ahead and bring up Matt, who has prepared his speech. And let me give a brief introduction. His speech is number 9 towards the Advanced Communicator Bronze Manual. And as Elisa alluded to earlier, it is titled Readying Ourselves for the Pain-Free MC's Cocktail Party. He will be speaking about the recruitment techniques in preparation for a hypothetical cocktail party hosted by our very own group. This talk was inspired by discussions on physician mingling dynamics with interested team members at a recent American Neurological Association conference that Matt attended, as well as some collegiate experiences he'll be drawing from with recruiting new members in campus organizations. So Matt, welcome.
Today my topic is speaking after dinner, so there will be a couple hypothetical constraints I'm going to be throwing at you guys to kind of get you into the mood of this speech. So we'll get into those right away. So first of all, as Maggie mentioned, the talk was inspired by both collegiate and professional experiences at recruiting events. A lot of times, actually most of the time, you're kind of just thrown into an atmosphere where you're expected to recruit people without a whole lot of social structure, and they don't always turn out as well as they could. I will address common recruitment downfalls as well as strategies for addressing. And just for the assumption and the illusion of the stage here, it assumes that the pain-free MC members just ate dinner and are preparing for a recruitment cocktail reception the following day. To provide some opening remarks on our speech, I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. We can thank Foga de Chao for these outstanding table settings and beautiful decor. Hope you have all enjoyed your dinner. For the topics to address today, I will talk about common recruitment downfalls, effective mingling, and mechanics of conversational transitions. We'll go into each one of these in detail. So major recruitment downfalls, first of all. We have to figure out where we don't want to fall before we talk about strategies. One is failure to interact with prospective new members. Now, a lot of times what will happen, and I saw this happen actually at AUA as well, the conference I was just at, is when you have a whole lot of either physicians or new members at a recruitment event, they all stick together, and then all the current members stick together. You don't want that to happen because that's not how you get to know people. So that's not a good thing. Conversational transitions are also kind of uncomfortable if they're not done properly. For example, if I'm talking to Michelle and we're having a good conversation, but we're supposed to kind of mingle and keep going, but neither of us have any way out, we end up talking about the weather and having really uncomfortable dynamics, which will be demonstrated. Additionally, there are people that you just don't click with after that first interaction, and you want to kind of get out of that conversation, but again, you basically hit that wall a little bit sooner. That's never comfortable either, because you want to make people feel comfortable and you want to be able to navigate the social scene smoothly. So we'll go into some specifics of that as well. So as illustrations, I just have dangerous, socially awkward. Nobody wants to be wearing that hat. And then this is the socially awkward penguin, which is apparently a cartoon series online. It says, go to party, spend the entire time near the food. No one wants to do that either. Okay, interacting with potential new members. First of all, reach out to potential new members. We are here to sell our organization, and sometimes this is awkward and uncomfortable at first, but it's very important because, again, if we have all of them in one corner and we're all in another corner just chatting, there's not any benefit to either side. And if anything, if you put yourself in their shoes, they don't know anybody, and they've been invited to this cocktail party and nobody's talking to them. So how welcome would you feel if you were at an event like that? Try a simple greeting. Hi, my name is Matt. What brings you to our event today? And smile. Try not to, even if it is awkward and uncomfortable, you do want to portray a kind of more enjoyable setting and optimistic demeanor. So for conversational transitions, we're going to get a little bit into a specific strategy that I'm suggesting here, and this is called the bumping system. It's actually originated from or at least from what I understand, from the Greek system in terms of how sororities do recruitment. I thought it was kind of funny initially, but there is a lot of merit to it. It is a structured system that allows for smooth transitions and quick, efficient conversations. The second concept here is the sign. It's a subtle gesture to indicate that it is time to transition out of your current conversation. If any of you guys are Seinfeld fans, there was one cocktail party episode where he and Elaine decided to do this head patting thing, where if they were in an awkward conversation, that would be their signal. I don't suggest that as your signal, because it's not very subtle, but if you are planning a professional recruitment event, it is advisable to have some sort of signal to indicate that somebody else should come and essentially save you from an awkward conversation. So bumping in detail. There are 3 roles in the bumping system. So we have openers, which are the conversation initiators that will actually start the conversation with a new member. We have floaters and bumpers, which are conversation transition facilitators. What does that mean? They're floaters initially. They're not talking to anybody, but they're observing very closely to see if somebody ends up getting to that kind of termination point in the conversation and needs to be effectively rescued at that point and transitioned in. Additionally, we have our potential new member in green here. So I tried to do a little bit of a football playbook appearance here. So we have our floater looking on to the conversation between the opener and the potential new member. And then when that signal is given, step 2 will be for them to essentially go in and bump in, which is kind of where the pool cue picture came from here. Go in and bump in, and then take that place of the opener in the conversation, and this guy or girl goes out this way. There are also some specifics of how you can introduce one another so you don't have the same questions over and over again. I know one thing they tell us with physician visits is the doctor does not want to get 800 questions of how was your flight, how was your travels, it's cold today, you have never been to Minnesota before, right? When you introduce people, you can also use what you learned about them when you spoke to them to introduce them to the next person, so you have a higher level of starting common ground, so you don't ask the same questions over and over again. So I'd like to do some example conversations, and I have some planted audience members that are going to help me out with this one. So for the first speech, for the first example, we're going to do a conversation without the bumping strategy, and you'll get to see where that goes, and then we'll do one with the bumping strategy. So if I can get my 2 volunteers to come up here, and I'll open the scene here. So enter Jane, the high energy and outgoing president of the painfree FC's chapter of Toastmasters in Arrow. And Scott, a socially awkward potential new member with a penchant for looking at your shoes rather than making eye contact. Take it away.
Hello, how are you?
I've been better. Traffic was terrible getting here. Couldn't you have chosen a better location?
Oh, I'm Jane Brown. I'm the president of pain-free chapters of Toastmasters here in Euro.
Oh, I'm Scott Quinn.
Well, what brings you to Toastmasters today?
Well, I was out on my boat on Lake Minnetonka this weekend, and I was talking to my wife about a big presentation I have coming up at work. I'm super nervous because I don't like to speak in front of people.
Well, you've come to the right place. Is there anything specific you'd like to learn about our organization?
No, not really. When does the food get here?
So, nice weather today, isn't it?
Huh?
Okay, so this is the part where you're essentially really wanting to do this and say, get me out of here. And if you don't have a system in place, a lot of times there isn't somebody watching for you. And other than saying, I need to go get a drink or I have to go to the bathroom or something, it's really hard to get out of those conversations. So with our more structured bumping strategy, we run through the same scene, but with a floater and onlooker to come in and come to the rescue, Emily. So we will start the scene again, same situation, but with bumping.
Hello, how are you?
I've been better. Traffic was terrible getting here. Couldn't you have chosen a better location?
I'm Jane Brown. I'm the president of Pain-Free MCs here at Neuro.
I'm Scott Quinn. I work at the widget company down the road.
So what brings you to Toastmasters today?
Well, I was out on my boat on Lake Minnetonka this weekend, and I was talking to my wife about a big presentation I have coming up at work. I'm super nervous because I don't like to speak in front of people.
Well, you've come to the right place. Is there anything specific you'd like to learn about our organization?
No, but when does the food come?
Well, oh, hi, Linda. Linda, this is Scott. He's considering joining our club and works at the widget company down the road.
Nice to meet you, Scott.
So, when does the food come?
Oh, Linda, Scott was just telling me that he was out on Lake Minnetonka a weekend ago with his wife. Weren't you and your husband on the lakes last weekend as well?
Yes, we were.
Excellent. Well, I'll let you two get to know each other a little bit. Scott, it was a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you. Round of applause for our participants. So the whole idea with the bumping system, if you notice, is not only when Linda, i.e. Emily, walked in, she kind of saved Maggie from the awkward conversation and got her out of that situation, but also when Maggie introduced her, she said he works at the widget company down the road. He was, oh, you two were both on Lake Minnetonka last weekend, maybe he'll talk about that instead of looking at my shoes. That whole thing, but it does provide, it's an exaggerated example for the sake of providing insight as to how you can kind of get the ball rolling and continue at a second level of conversation rather than having Linda once again say, oh, well, what brings you here and why are you interested in Toastmasters and that sort of thing. Conclusions. So to wrap up everything we just talked about here, reach out to potential new members. It is our job to sell ourselves, so win them over on personality and sell them on Toastmasters. Plan out bump strategies beforehand. Make sure that you have a group ready and a floater as well as an opener. And get excited to recruit our next class of future public speakers. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. In front of you, you have a evaluation sheet. You could take just a couple of minutes to fill out your evaluation of Matt's speech and your reactions. I actually enjoyed that, Matt. That was actually very interesting. I think you proved once again that, to paraphrase, plans are actually nothing, but strategy is everything.
There you go.
I think we could probably all identify with a particular time in our life where we've been put in a situation where something similar has happened, but without really knowing what to do, or just kind of bumble our way through it, right? And I would like to propose that on June 27th, when we have our barbecue, we put our practices to use. For Matt's speech.
So if we see you itching your nose.
That's right, that's the sign. Rescue.
It's a sign to either rescue you or stay away. I'm not sure.
Right, maybe we better come up with something different.
Hey, Matt, the pick mute button on there.
The what?
The pick mute button should have the right hand side. There we go. So you don't blind Maggie.
Okay, I think most of us have finished. Thank you for your evaluations. Matt will appreciate that as well. At this time, I would like to bring up our table topics master, Jill. Thank you so much for stepping in.
All right. Well, as table topics master, I will be giving everyone a chance to speak. If you'd like to, guests are also welcome to speak. And we'll all be practicing our impromptu speaking and thinking on our feet. We can also try to incorporate the word of the day, and each response to a question should be between the 1 and 2 minute time frame. For today's questions, if we run out, I think we'll have extras, but I came with a few. And I think I'll ask them and then look for volunteers, although if I don't get volunteers, be prepared that I may call on someone at random. So my first question is, you're having dinner guests tomorrow. What would you make and why?
Lars the culinarian.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, I'm having dinner guests, and I do like to entertain, and I do like to cook, but sometimes in the summer it gets hectic because I also like to garden. So I like to be outside, I like to bike, I like to walk, and cooking takes a lot of time. But I've discovered these delicious loaded brats. Has anybody had them? From Von Hansen's? Cheddar cheese, wild rice, and bacon brats. They are so good. So I'm gonna cheat, I'll pick those up. I'll make some potato salad, which is time consuming, but I'll make a huge bowl so it'll last for a few days. And then I'll cut up some watermelon, because watermelon is so good for you, so we'll have some fresh fruit. And you know, I'm just gonna keep it simple. We'll just sit outside on the deck so they don't have to go into my house. I'll just, route them around inside the garage, up under the deck. Keep it easy. And that will be our feast, the wild rice brats, the potato salad, and watermelon. So please check them out at Von Hansen's. Sometimes they have coupons that come out in the mail, and I think you'll enjoy my impromptu dinner.
All right. The next question I've got has to do with Father's Day this weekend. Does anyone have a really good Father's Day gift idea that either they've given or gotten or heard about or thought
I'll go. All right, so many of you know I moved here recently from Maryland, so I will not be with my father, unfortunately, on Father's Day. But one of the things we did when we were a kid was me and my brothers made a t-shirt for him with the handprints and the, puppy paint and everything. And recently I was watching an episode of Modern Family, and Claire comes out, if anyone watched that, she's wearing that old shirt with all the kids' handprints on it. And I was telling my boyfriend that my dad still does the exact same thing. He'll still wear that shirt. It's really tight. It's but he loves that shirt. So this year I decided I could make him a new shirt. So I went to Michael's, got paint. I did my handprints, and then I sent it off to my brother to go get him to do it and get my other brother to also do it. So hopefully on Father's Day, he'll now have an updated version of the shirt, and it'll fit him a little better, and hopefully he'll really enjoy it.
All right, thank you. All right, well, that's a great idea. My last question has to do with, I have a 5-year-old, and every day I come home from work and try to tell him something interesting that happened at work, or just something that he would cling on to. And so the last question on behalf of him is, what is the best superhero power and why? Anyone? Carrie?
The best superhero power, in my opinion, is the ability to fly. Because I've always wanted to fly. You see the birds up in the sky. What a view they must have. And I don't own an airplane, so I would really like the ability to fly. Plus, you can get to places very quickly, and you no longer need a car. You no longer need to buy gas at $3.50 a gallon. And you probably can have a lot of friends because people would want to fly with you, right? And you can carry people around, especially girls if, you weren't married. So for me, instead of girls, it could be kids. And I could be the coolest dad in the whole school as well. So flying is the best superpower.
How are we doing on overall time? Should I read another question?
Actually, we probably could do one more, if anyone wants to.
Okay. Does anyone have a fear or a phobia that they want to talk about? Why they're afraid of it, or if they've tried to overcome it?
I had to take this based on Gary's response previously about flying. When he said flying, I was like, that would be that's also my favorite superpower. Just the speed, the lightness, how interesting would it be? But I think I've had numerous table topics of one of my greatest fears is heights. So, I don't think it would work for me. And I didn't always have this fear of heights, and when I started riding roller coasters, I loved them. And then I realized that humans make roller coasters, and humans mess up a lot of things. And yeah, that's when the fear of heights really took hold, and I realized my mortality and how horrible, well, maybe not horrible, it'd be fast, it'd be a quick death. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad, but if you don't fall from far enough a height, that's just a painful existence. So I have a lot of rational reasons to be afraid of heights, and it's a very strong fear for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
That was fun. The next portion of our meeting is going to be with evaluation, so I will bring up our general evaluator, Lori, and she'll introduce you.
All right, at this time I would like to call on Elisa to evaluate math speech. please join me in welcoming our evaluator. Thank you, Miss.
Lisa?
All right, well, I think that your speech was very entertaining. And I know that because I heard laughter and I heard, well, I didn't hear, but I saw, I mean, everybody was focusing forward to you, to listen to you. Your PowerPoint slides, I think were impactful, especially when you had the hat, which I can't remember what it said on it now, but.
Oh,
And the
dangerous.
penguin, you know, so that was, fun. Your facial expressions were great, they always are, your hand expressions, but I loved when you, emphasized with your smile, so that, your big smile. And I was, able to follow it really easy, as far as, your subject recruitment of, I like the acronym PNMs, potential new members. And I liked how, you began with the downfalls and then the conversation transitions. And I especially liked your role playing. That was really nice to get the audience involved and, you know, more entertaining. And then you recapped how that bumping concept worked and we could see how it worked. So I think that will be something that I know I will take away and probably the rest of the members will probably take away. So in closing, I was just really impressed with how you approached the whole topic, and I think you did entertain us. Had we had a really full stomach, we would be still sitting up and at attention. So great job.
Thank you.
Okay, I will call on Gary for our timers report. Gary?
All right. For today's timers report, I have for Matt's speech 10 minutes and 15 seconds. A little bit over, that's all right. For the table topics, Lori was 1 minute and 18 seconds, Emily 58 seconds. I was 1 minute and 9 seconds, and Michelle was 1 minute and 6 seconds. And Elisa, your evaluation was 1 minute 41 seconds.
Great, thanks, Gary. And Emily, would you like to present the grammarian on-counter report?
Sure. For Toastmaster Maggie, I had a couple ahs and ums. They were mostly at the beginning when we started the meeting, and then one and one so. For invocation, Michelle, I didn't have anything. For word of the day, John, I just had 2 so's. Matt, we had 3 ahs and 3 ums, and then I caught several so's, but I don't, sometimes it's tough with that word because it was kind of a transition and I didn't find it too distracting, but just something to keep track of, I guess. Table topics, Jill, I had 2 ahs and 2 ands. Lori, I had 1 you know, 2 buts and 1 so. And Gary, I had 1 and 1 so. And Michelle, I had 2 ands and 2 so's. And then Elisa, for the evaluator, had 3 ums, 1 and 2 so's. And then as general evaluator, Lori, I just had 1 so.
Okay, thanks, Emily. Let's see. Well, I think we have had a very successful meeting. We had a very entertaining speech. I always enjoy listening to your speeches, Matt, because you teach us something, which is, it's always good to take something away, and you seem to incorporate the Toastmaster skills in your speeches, so we can go back and, you know, use this to our advantage, you know, in the future. And, you know, working here at Medtronic, you know, I think we're all, what's the word I want to use, kind of does anybody know what I'm thinking of? Kind of
Living the dream.
Oh, I
Living the dream.
we are.
I was gonna say mule too.
Anyway, we are a sponsorship of Medtronic and our products, so it's good to just be the best we can be, even outside, you know, in our personal lives and when we meet people, so thank you for that. And do you have any comments that you'd like to make about your speech, or do you think it went well? Did you remember to talk about everything?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it went well. There wasn't
Okay.
a lot of preparation time, so
Oh.
I'm glad that it
Oh.
came together
That's so creative.
well. And yeah, I'm stumbling more now than I did in the actual speech because that's when you have to give a speech about your talk. But I did think it went pretty well. There's still the filler portions that I always feel like I need to work on, and unless I've really rehearsed, I always tend to fall into double clutches and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So it'd be interesting to see the video. But I hope the subject matter was useful.
Oh, it was, yeah, thank you very much. Yes, all right. Okay, at this time I will return the meeting back to our Toastmaster lady.
Thank you, Lori. We've reached the portion of our meeting where we will be asked to select a winner for the Toast Topics and Toast Topics. Table Topics. We're getting a lot of T's in there.
Yes, toast.
So what we'll do is we'll have Tom, who is taking our minutes, to recap briefly each of our table topic speakers, and then we'll put our heads down and vote on the one you felt was best presenting on an impromptu basis. Tom.
All right. Our first table topics participant was Lori White, and the question was, if you were to have dinner guests tomorrow, what would you make for them? And the answer was the loaded brats, potato salad, and watermelon. And for table topic 2, the participant was Emily Hebler, and the question was, what is a really good Father's Day gift idea? And Emily spoke about the t-shirt that she and her siblings had made for her dad when they were younger, and how they're going to recreate that same t-shirt now, update it a little bit. And then for table topics, our third participant was Gary Gillette, and the question was, what is the best superhero power and why? And Gary said it's the ability to fly. You can pick up, well, had to change his answer to the kids and be the best dad in the school. Remember, he was married there. So. And then table topics for our participant was Michelle Klein, and the question was, does anyone have a fear or phobia they'd like to share? Michelle spoke about her fear of flying and how maybe the flying superhero power might not be the best for her.
Thank you. So if I could ask you to put your heads down and raise your hands to vote for Lori. Thank you. For Emily. Thank you. For Gary. Thank you. For Michelle. Thank you. Today's winner of the table topic goes to Emily. Oh, sorry. Congratulations. Wonderful. All right. So we are ready to wrap up this meeting. I do want to just one final thing, to just a quick word count for the word of the day. I believe that we did hear the word of the day 2 or 3 times. I know I used it. John used it as well. So that's great. And finally, I do want to invite Ryan, our guest, to contact any of the officers. Tom is an officer, Matt is one as well, John, and myself, and Elisa. Okay, could I bungle this anymore? Yes. So please feel free to contact us for more information about joining Toastmasters. We would love to have you in our group. And I'll turn it back over to our president.
Hey, thanks, Maggie. And Tom, can you remind us, where are we meeting next week?
Next week, I think we're going to be in back in 2SD.
2SD. Okay, so it's downstairs, kind of by the lobby. And do we have a volunteer for someone to be Toastmaster for next week's meeting? Lori? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
It is 2SD.
2SD. Okay. So, Ryan, you're welcome to join us again next week. And say, if I don't know if you have our guest packet yet or not. If not, we have electronic copies or a hard copy in the back, and everyone's on there. So, feel free. Any questions? Once again, 2 vice president jobs open. I'll be sending out email notices probably every hour on the hour till someone steps up. So peer pressure, get somebody, if you know somebody that would be really good at it, kind of prod them a little bit. And just in a couple weeks, see the notice for our big barbecue bash from noon till 1 out of the patio. That's all that I have. Does anyone else have any other announcements, thoughts, concerns?
Just to clarify, right, the bash, no one needs to bring anything, the food and beverages are all provided by our group.
Unless Lori's gonna bring loaded brats in. That would be pretty hungry. Correct, yeah, that's part of what our club dues goes to, is
Okay.
barbecue.
I'm expecting the
Mouth is
Well,
watering.
Hanson's.
Well, no, my mouth is watering.
Oh, I know.
Yes, you have to.
Laura's bought stock in Von Hansen, so she's.
Not Costco.
Do they have them at Costco?
They don't, but you know what? I'm gonna write out a form.
Okay.
Yeah. Get the right
Good comment. To get 'em in.
Alright, so we'll go ahead and wrap up the meeting a little bit early, and if, let's stick around, if you have any questions, let me know. If not, we'll see everybody next week, 2SD, and we'll be welcoming Lori as our Toastmaster for next week. Have a good day.
So how did you hear about it, or what, Frank?
Someone I worked with actually had mentioned that he thought it would be a good idea to